This is my reflection of this week's module's topic, which is pop culture. I have 6 articles that I would like to reference when it comes to this topic on the basis of my open-ended question on whether or not pop culture has an impact from generation to generation, as in generation-wise. The first article that I would like to focus on is on jstor.org. It is entitled The Impact of Popular Communication on Communication Skills, a commentary with insights for writing instruction, and it is by Linda Best and Christopher Lynch. The quote that I want to focus on, or at least the quotes I want to focus on, are: pop culture is ever present and all pervasive. Its icons have been the gods of our times, and its rhetoric are prayers. There is no phenomenon, but in recent decades, the influence of popular culture has been magnified due to the intense impact of visual modes of communication. To summarize these quotes, I think metaphorically, in a sense, when the article states that the icons of pop culture have been gods of our times, and what they say, or rhetoric, is our prayers, is how much of an influence, at least a powerful impact, that pop culture and the figures or icons in this case of pop culture can have on not just individuals but society as a whole. The next article I want to focus on is from Forbes.com, and it is entitled The Power of Pop Culture and Public Relations Campaigns, and it is by Jenna Guarneri. And this quote is in the very first part of the article, or quotes, I should say. It says, pop culture encompasses trends, practices, ideas, beliefs, images, and things that many people in society embrace and share. And it has a big impact on our overall culture. From music, film, and TV to fashion, literature, and social media, pop culture is constantly evolving. To summarize this, it simply is saying that pop culture over time gets more and more influential in a sense, and it's the basis of how we, I guess in a way, function as individuals, and it can also influence us, whether that be positive or negative. Another article that I would like to focus on is from psychologytoday.com. It is by Jim Taylor, and it is entitled Popular Culture, We Are What We Consume. The synopsis of this article is basically, excuse me, it's basically how this individual, this Dr. Jim Taylor, is simply against pop culture because, quote, it is because pop culture is being an unhealthy force in our lives. So when he says unhealthy force, I think he's talking about like social media or like mainstream media can be a negative influence, such as even politics for that matter, which in a way I agree with him on, but in some cases I feel like pop culture can also have positive effects, such as through music, film, and even through art for that matter. Another article that I would like to focus on is based on the types of pop culture. This one is from berkeley.edu, and it is by Brian Paris, and it is entitled 12 Songs That Became Anthems of Change. The songs that are mentioned are I Am a Woman by Helen Reddy, which is about liberation for women. It's a feminist anthem, which I think when it comes to the word feminist, I feel like it has a negative connotation because of mainstream media. However, feminism is about empowering women of all walks of life, whether it be traditional women or women who I guess are nonconformists. I feel as if feminism needs to have more of a positive, I guess, outlook in a sense, especially in modern day, because feminism, the basis of it is to unite women, and I think that's what this song is about. The other song that is mentioned is the amazing song Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday, which is about which is anti-racism, and it's about the lynching of Black Americans. Hence, the metaphor of Strange Fruit when she says blood on the leaves. It's essentially about when Black people in America, more specifically in the American South, were lynched, which means they were beaten to death and hung, or essentially just killed based on hateful nonsense. And that's pretty much what this song is about. Another song that I want to focus on, that is one of two songs actually that are my personal favorites, are Big Yellow Taxi by Joni Mitchell, which is about, according to the article, it is about the relationship between Earth and modern civilization. So this could bring awareness to about maybe environmental issues. And Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2, which is about, according to the article, is about the atrocity of violence against unarmed civilian protesters in Northern Ireland, which Ireland is U2's home country. And during this time, there was a lot of animosity between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, I believe. I am not sure. But this song essentially is an anti-war song, and is an anti-violence song. And I feel like it has, especially the lyric, the pre-chorus line, as it says in this article, it says, "How long must we sing this song?" It's basically saying, how many times do we have to say this is wrong before somebody and the higher ups gets it? That's how I interpreted this line. The other article I want to focus on is on vocalmedia.com. It is entitled TV Shows That Changed the Landscape of Pop Culture, which is by L.A. McFarlane. Some of these shows that are mentioned are The Sopranos, which is one of my personal favorites. And it's simply just like your average Martin Scorsese film, such as Goodfellas. It showed pop culture what life being an Italian American could be like. However, I feel as if when it comes to Italian American culture, there's some negative connotations, such as Italian Americans all being part of the mafia, which is not true at all. And I feel as if, even though it's based on fictional aspects, but also non-fictional aspects, such as like crime families in New York or something of that nature, I feel as if when it comes to The Sopranos, it's more of like a tribute to Martin Scorsese films, which are also important in pop culture. Another important show based in pop culture is Stranger Things, which is a tribute, or in this case, in this article, it says an homage to 1980s pop culture, whether it be games such as Dungeons and Dragons, or MTV, or even Walkmans, which were a popular device used to listen to audio media during the 1980s. I feel as if Stranger Things can have as like a positive, like, interpolation of what the 80s was like. So that's my synopsis on that part. And when it comes to the other article, or at least the final article I would like to mention, and this reflection, it is from culturefly.com, and it says 10 movies that changed pop culture. One film I want to focus on that I grew up on, and one of the reasons why I'm a nerd, is Back to the Future, which came out in 1985. It is a science fiction film, and it's based off of the series Back to the Future, which is a franchise, and it mentions stuff in your typical science fiction fantasy novel, such as time travel, I guess references to pop culture icons. It varies from movie to movie, depending on what you're watching, which is Back to the Future, or Back to the Future Part 2, or Back to the Future Part 3. It varies from reference to reference, or allusions. At least from a movie that came out when I was a little girl, The Dark Knight, I feel like when it comes to The Dark Knight, it simply gave more depth to superhero movies without the cheesy action sequences and like the melodramatic storyline. Even though the storyline is a bit melodramatic, it's also in a way very realistic in a way. And one of my personal favorites that is mentioned in this article, Ghostbusters, which came out in 1984. And this movie essentially is the basis for science fiction for comedy with science fiction influences and action sequences. And I feel as if this film set the catalyst for what modern science fiction could be. And, of course, the final film I want to mention was the classic Quentin Tarantino flick, even though it's today be considered controversial or not politically correct because of the dialogue within the film, is Pulp Fiction, which is a neo-noir film that is similar to a cross between blaxploitation films, such as Shaft with Richard Roundtree, and also like movies like In the Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier. It's familiar in a sense, but it's also very, very of its time, but in a good way. And I feel like these films that I've mentioned and these songs and these TV shows that I've mentioned are basically the catalyst for what modern entertainment can be and what it has been for the last maybe 30 to 40 years. This essentially is my reflection of this week's topic, which is popular culture. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.